Yeah, this is, of course, our Thursday edition. Now, the African Group of Negotiators Expert Support, known as AGNES, internship with the National Parliament of Namibia, African Union Development Agency, and with support from the Children's Investment Fund or Foundation and Open Society Foundation, is hosting the second regional parliamentary meeting on strengthening capacity of national parliaments on oversight in climate action, accountability and reporting in Windhoek. Now, the event is taking place at Mercure Hotel. Joining us with more details are Agnes Pinga Kafula, who is a member of parliament, as well as Shadrach Arum, who is a research associate at Agnes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time to be here this morning.
Yeah. Good morning, and thank you for having us this morning.
All right. I'd like to start with you, Ms. Kafula. Now, we do understand that the African continent only contributes about 3.6% of the global emissions. That's quite a small number. But we want to understand the importance of the participation collectively from the African continent in enhancing transparency and accountability when it comes to climate action.
Thank you once more for having us again this morning. Yes, we have currently a workshop going on.
Yeah.
We started yesterday and is going for today, and we end our workshop tomorrow, Friday. Mm-hmm. We have about 70 members participating from 16 SADC countries.
Okay.
And we are here to discuss the issues concerning the climate change that is imminent and is visible in anywhere in the world, and more specifically in the Southern Africa. Mm-hmm. So our importance here is that we are taking a collective action that is paramount or important to our region, mm-hmm. by sending a unified message to developed countries on their obligation to the UNFCCC.
Yes.
We are saying this because, as you have mentioned, that Africa's contribution to this emission is just 3.6 of a global emission. Therefore, we need to send a message out there, mm-hmm. And this is supposed to be a common message when we go to, because we have an annual COPs that discuss the issue of climate change. Hence, we want to prepare ourselves that when we get there, we speak as African countries, mm-hmm. but not as Namibia or as Botswana and so on. Mm-hmm. So basically, that's what we are trying to put the heads together. Yeah. And when we get there, we prepare ourselves.
Okay. Very well. Mr. Arum, I understand that this is, of course, a collaborative effort, as I indicated in my introduction. Yeah. And you being the research associate from the African Group of Negotiators Experts Support, what would you say is your role in this event?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that question. And generally, the African Group of Negotiators Expert Support is a non-profit think tank of African experts. And what we generally do is we provide evidence-based knowledge, okay. that informs climate policy and action, but mm-hmm. also towards forming a common African position when it comes to climate change negotiations, especially at the international level. Mm-hmm. As just my colleague here, Agnes, was speaking about the COPs and the subsidiary bodies meetings, which are usually in June. Generally, how we are set up at Agnes is that we look at the international policies which are formed at the COP, and then how do they trickle down to our different nations, the different nations here in Africa. Mm-hmm. And generally what we try to do is we capacitate our different countries, now looking at how we are set up from the executive to the legislature and also the judiciary, trying to capacitate them on matters to do with climate change.
Yeah.
How can our parliaments address issues to do with climate change? And generally, our role here, we do have a work stream, which is generally on parliamentary engagements. And what we do is, number one, we convene the regional parliamentary meetings just to capacitate members of parliament on matters to do with climate change, but now linking it to their role on number one, which is on budgeting, number two, on oversight, number three, on representation, but also the legislation that is making the laws. So basically what we do is we convene those meetings to capacitate them on these issues, speak on matters, issues to do with climate change, and just to provide a way forward. How can we strengthen our parliaments further towards addressing issues of climate change?
Okay. Ms. Kafula, what would you say are some of the challenges that you have observed? Because Mr. Arum made mention towards the legislative oversights on climate change. So what are some of the challenges that are experienced within this regard? Yeah,
the current challenges is that we do not have adequate policies in place. It's so unfortunate that most of our countries, they do not have policies yet.
Okay.
And then we have those few that have started somewhere, but it's also a challenge according to their contribution to say that to come up with a climate change policy is not an easy thing. There is like Botswana, if I'm not mistaken, that they started 2019. And Eswatini, they started somewhere in 2016. However, that policies or the bills that they have come up with have not yielded fruits yet, because there are many issues that need to be incorporated. Hence, it will take a while. So I think it's also a learning curve for us, that countries that have not yet started, learning from our colleagues that we have to look at many issues before we finally come up with the legislature in place to address the issue of climate change.
Another issue is really the aspect of funding. We do know that African countries really have high debt. And in Namibia, we have the Environmental Investment Fund that somewhat assists in this regard. So from a parliamentary perspective, Madam Kafula, how would you say the EIF should then assist Parliament in creating some of these policies that you have mentioned are lacking at the moment?
Yeah, the EIF is getting funding. Initially, funds that are just given to the government, but through EIF, and it's mainly to look into the issue of climate change. And what we have, I mean, the policies to say that they get the funds, and for us as parliamentarians, we try also to monitor and see how these funds are being implemented.
Okay.
Like, for example, we from Namibian Parliament, 2022, around September, October, we took a decision to go and see how this money is being utilized. So we went together as a team with the EIF, and then also the stakeholders like from the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, so that we go and monitor, because this is the responsibility of parliamentarians or legislature to make sure that the money that has been given is utilized effectively. Therefore, we really have to make sure that no single cent is misplaced.
Okay. Would you like to add on the aspect of funding?
Yeah, generally the issue of funding is really, it's really a tough issue, even when you look at it from the negotiations currently going on around climate finance. because currently this year towards COP29, it is expected that parties are going to agree on a quantum of what will be the new collective goal on climate finance, that what will be this amount that we are saying that once we set this amount, this should be able to help countries to adapt and also to mitigate the issues of climate change. Yeah. And one thing I like about the case study of Namibia, and especially with the EIF, is that the EIF, at least as far as I know, was developed through a legislative act. Yes. And it's one of the efforts that Namibia is using to do resource mobilization, because we do understand finance is a scarce resource. So generally, we need to try and tap to different avenues that are at our disposal just to ensure we are able to do different climate actions. And the EIF is really trying to do that, trying to work with available domestic resources, but also tapping into the financial mechanisms which are available globally, such as the Global Climate Fund, the Global Environment Facility, adaptation funds. And within it also, there are a number of mechanisms through which they help people in accessing that fund. So the EIF, to me, is one of a key case study which different African countries can actually learn from. Okay. And yeah, just to ensure there's more finance mobilization towards climate action.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's good to hear that Namibia is doing something right, especially in terms of climate change.
Yeah, sure.
Ms. Kafula, the conference started yesterday. What were some of the pertinent issues that were under discussion at the opening ceremony?
The pertinent issue that we discussed is mainly the as I've also alluded to, the issue of the legislation that is missing.
Okay.
And that is making our work more difficult but however, whether there is a policy or no policy, there are always ways to see how we can handle the concern. The other issue, I think, is more on a lack of proper coordination. Yeah, what we are saying is we should work together as a team, as African. We should not say this is a Namibian problem, therefore Namibia should see how they can handle it. We are saying it's an African problem.
Okay.
Yeah, therefore we tackle those issues to say let us unite as African and then speak the one language. As we have also alluded to, saying that when we go to these COPs, we must speak as one, not as an individual countries. So there are many issues that we have picked up. Therefore, we are also trying to, perhaps at the end of the workshop, find solutions to those effects. And perhaps after the workshop, we may also be in a position of knowing exactly what could be the way forward.
All right, we have run out of time for the remainder of our conversation, but in conclusion, sir, can you please talk to us about what is expected for the remainder of the conference?
Okay, yeah, thanks for that question. So basically this conference is more focused towards oversight among the parliamentarians. And beginning from today, we'll be diving deeper into the issues of oversight, just trying to learn from different parliaments. How does Namibia does it? How does Zambia do their oversight? So we are trying to listen and have members of parliament doing their experience sharing amongst each other. And what we are looking towards is how do we get the best practices from different parliaments such that we can have a document or something which we can always speak with different parliaments, telling them, you know, this is what you can always be doing, because we are also looking towards, in the future, towards developing some tools which parliaments can be using in their oversight. And also what we are looking forward towards this meeting is the development of a resolution that members of parliament, which will have a call to action that members of parliament want to push forward on matters to do with climate change. So those are some of the things that we are looking forward to, at least for today and tomorrow. And we believe that this would not be the end of the conversation of involving parliamentarians on matters to do with climate change.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Your final thoughts, ma'am?
My final thoughts is just to say that, to share with the public out there, that for Namibia, we put ourselves a goal to reach 91% of this emission reduction by 2030. However, this will be met with the challenge of finances, and we are looking at plus minus 90 billions to be able to reach this goal that we have set ourselves. But however, where there is a political will, there is always a way to make sure that what we have set ourselves, we manage to address it. So in short, that's briefly that we are looking forward to.
All right. Well, thank you both for being here, and all the best with the conference.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, more conversations are coming up right here on the Thursday edition of Good Morning Namibia. Please stay tuned.